and welcome to my studio. I'm Margulis, and I have a really important pastel tip for you today. And if you can master this tip, you are going to be on your way to becoming a really great pastel painter. The tip involves the way we apply the pastel. So whether you're new to pastel or you've been painting for a long time, I want to share with you the way that I apply the pastel. And it's very simple. I only use 3 basic marks or strokes. I use a whispering mark, a shouting mark, and a dancing mark. And all of my paintings are built up with those 3 types of marks. So before I show you, what I want to do is talk to you just a little bit about pastel and the wonderful ability that we have to layer color to create new color. And so in pastel, what we do is we layer color and we create optical blends of color, meaning that the eye looks at the color and sees different colors because you are allowing the layers to peek through. So what you put down first and cover up, you'll be able to see through it and you see a new color. And it's a much more interesting mix of colors. Traditionally, when we use paint, oil, acrylic, watercolor, and we mix colors, we physically blend colors. So we take 2 colors, mix them together, we get a new color. In pastel, if we physically blend colors, meaning we take 2 colors and we mush them together, oftentimes what happens is we end up with mud or dirty looking color or overworked paintings. So we want to keep our paintings fresh, and in order to do that we need to layer with a light touch. So that's the first type of mark that I'm going to show you, and that is the whispering mark or the light touch. So I'm going to show you, so come on closer, and I'm going to show you first of all my pastel. Can you see from here? Okay. So this is a Terry Ludwig pastel. This is my favorite go-to pastel brand. So I have people ask me all the time, what pastels should I buy? Terry Ludwig pastels. So it's a nice square shape. It's the perfect consistency of softness and hardness. It doesn't crumble, but yet you get nice, soft, wonderful, juicy marks, which I'm going to show you. You can't go wrong with these. I hold my stick like this. So 2 fingers on top, 1 finger on the bottom. And I consider this a loaded paintbrush, right? So this is all the paint. My arm is the paintbrush handle. So I'm actually painting with the pastel. If I were to use the tip, I would tend to make linear marks and I would be drawing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here and I'm going to do the first type of mark, which is the whispering mark. And it's a light touch. So what you want to say to yourself is, the right touch is a light touch. The right touch is a light touch. So repeat that after me. The right touch is a light touch. And I forgot to mention I'm working on UArt sanded pastel paper, which is my favorite go-to pastel paper. So how do you know if it's a light enough touch? This is the secret. If you can see what's underneath, your touch is light enough. So I just applied some purple. You can still see the sand color of the paper peeking through, right? Now, if I were to press too hard like this, what happens? You can't see the color of the paper. This is a heavy touch, or what I call a shouting mark. So when I press down so hard that you can no longer see the paper, I call that a shout. All right? Now, it's okay to shout, and I shout a lot, but I only shout when I know it's the last mark that I'm going to make. So I save the shouting marks for the last marks I'm going to make. Now, I could do a shouting mark in the beginning of a painting if I know I'm not going to layer any more on top. So let's continue down here. I want to show you how I continue to layer with a light touch. Now I'm going to choose another middle value violet, light touch. Now, you can still see the dark purple underneath and the sand color of the paper underneath. So my touch is light enough. If I press down too hard, I obliterate what's underneath. And that's going to start to create mud. I'm going to use another color. So here's a lighter purple. A light touch is the right touch. Now you can see how these colors are starting to optically blend, and I have created a whole new color, a whole new violet, by simply lightly layering. Now again, if I were to try to put a heavier touch on top of that, you don't see what's underneath, and I'm starting to get a slick feeling, a muddy feeling to my painting. So a light touch, a heavy touch, a whisper, and a shout. Now, let me show you how I shout. I'll take the purple, just the darker purple to demonstrate. When I shout, I hold my board because I press so hard that sometimes the pastel will actually break if I'm really, really intense. But a shouting mark is done on top of a whispering mark. So if I wanted to create some accents or some spices, I'll come on top of those lightly layered whispers, and then I can shout. Now, that's the whisper, that's the shout. This is the third type of mark that I make is what I call a dancing mark or lyrical lines. So every once in a while I want some detail, and I'm going to use a harder pastel for detail. So this is a dark purple new pastel. I can't see where I'm supposed to be showing, right here. So this is a dark purple new pastel. It's a harder pastel, so I can get a finer line because less pigment comes off of it. So when I want to do grasses, for example, I want to have linear marks. Now the mistake a lot of times that we make is we get too thick and regular with our marks. So we're making grass, for example, and we come in and we do very thick regular marks, and it starts to look a little bit artificial. What I want to encourage you to try is to do some dancing marks, or what I call lyrical lines, and the way to do that is to have a broken line. So watch what I'm going to do. I'm going to press and release, press and release. So put pressure and lift up, pressure and lift up, and I get this wonderful dancing broken line. So you can see the difference between a heavy regular mark and a broken line. And broken lines allow the eye to pick up those lost and found edges, and we create a feeling of more liveliness or believable grassy marks. So broken lines if you're going to do linear marks. Shout if you want to layer and have complexity, and whisper, excuse me, and shout when you want to put those final marks and details. So what happens, one more thing, what happens if you get too thick and you didn't intend to use such a heavy mark? Take a brush, a stiff brush, brush it out, remove some of that pastel, and come back with another color and start whispering all over again. And now you can see the color that's underneath, and you know that I used a light enough touch. So I hope this tip has been helpful for you, and enjoy, and I'll be back with another tip soon.